This is the $7.2 million check America paid Russia for Alaska. Since 1867, Alaska, the largest state in the United States, has been a fascinating exclave that shares a long border with the Canadian province of British Columbia and the Yukon territory to the east, and a western maritime border in the Bering Strait with Russia's Chukotka autonomous Okrug. But why did the US actually buy Alaska? Watch this video to learn the real motives behind America's purchase of this land. First, let's quickly look at why Russia sold the land. Historically, Alaska was once a colony of the Russian Empire for over 2 centuries before 1867. During this time, Alaska was the easternmost segment of the Russian Empire's vast holdings in America. However, on March 30, 1867, the Emperor of Russia signed the Treaty of Cession, transferring the ownership of Alaska to the United States. Although the vast lands of Alaska were sold to the United States for a total of $7.2 million, equivalent to just around 2 cents per acre, this price was considered quite small even in those days. During the middle decades of the 19th century, the Russian colony in America underwent significant changes due to various reasons. Firstly, the distances were immense, and control was challenging, which made it difficult for the Russian authorities to govern their far-flung territory effectively. Secondly, the fur resources were depleted, making sustaining the colony's economic viability increasingly challenging. Thirdly, the paternalistic approach adopted by the Russian authorities, coupled with overstaffing and easygoing methods at Sitka and other posts in the colony and at the Home Office in St. Petersburg, led to a steady cost increase. Moreover, during the Crimean War, although no fighting occurred in the Russian-American colony, the British attacked Russian ports in Siberia. This event led to Russia's fear that Britain might seek to extend its rule over all Russian lands in North America if they went to war again. The situation for Russia was dire, as it had no fleet in the American waters to protect its colonies, and there was reason to suppose that England would seize them. To prevent this act of war, the Russian-American company agent P.S. Kostromitinov devised a fictitious sale of the territory to a San Francisco concern known as the American-Russian Commercial Company, represented by Lucien Herman, its vice president. During those decades, Western influence had proliferated in Asia, with England winning concessions for enlarged trade with China in 1841. As a result, Hong Kong became a crown colony. The continuous demonstration of China's inability to resist foreign pressures encouraged Russia to seek control over the Amur region in Far Eastern Asia. However, in St. Petersburg, there was a growing conviction that Russia was weakened by overextension and should concentrate its efforts on maintaining its boundaries and developing its strength within the confines of Europe and Asia. In these circumstances, Russia was determined to seek friendly Western power as a purchaser of Russian holdings in America. However, Russia was anxious to create a buffer zone between British North America and Siberia, and therefore had no desire to sell to Britain or Canada. Having said that, it was now up to the United States to decide whether to purchase Alaska. Unlike Russia, which struggled to continue its expansion, the United States was eager to expand. It would be safe to say that there are 2 main reasons why the US has bought Alaska. The first was gold. During the 19th century, the United States saw immense potential in Alaska, as it presented an opportunity to explore untapped resources such as gold, fur, and fisheries. The Americans also foresaw the chance to increase trade with China and Japan, as Alaska's proximity made it a strategic location for trade routes and commerce. The discovery of gold in Alaska in the late 1800s only reinforced this belief, leading to a rush of prospectors and settlers in search of wealth and opportunity. In 1880, a man named Joe Juneau stumbled upon a significant discovery in the Silver Bow Basin of Alaska. He found massive deposits of gold, which triggered a mining boom in the region. The news of this discovery spread like wildfire, and it soon became a hot topic worldwide. Joe's discovery of gold, and subsequent ones in the Klondike Yukon region and other areas, attracted thousands of people who migrated to the territory with the hope of striking it rich. This gold rush profoundly impacted the region's economy and led to the development of several towns and cities in Alaska and the surrounding areas. Thus, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, people traveled to Alaska and Canada, hoping to strike it rich by finding gold. This period is known as the Gold Rush. Many people traveled to Alaska and Canada in search for gold, causing an increase in demand for goods and services in the region. Although most people who went to Alaska did not find gold, some decided to stay there and make it their home. They started new towns and communities, such as Nome and Fairbanks. The construction of railroads also made it easier to transport goods and equipment for mining. Over time, Alaska's population grew, and many people built new homes and businesses. Today, Alaska is known for its beautiful scenery and unique culture, which has been shaped by its history. The second reason was geopolitics. The acquisition of Alaska was seen as a way to expand the country's territory and establish a presence in the Pacific. Americans feared the British might try to establish a foothold in the region. This purchase was also supported by the popular idea of manifest destiny, which was the belief that the United States was destined to expand its territory. The deal had a significant impact on the geopolitical landscape of the region. The United States gained about 370 million acres of land, primarily untouched wilderness, and almost a third of the size of the European Union. This included 220 million acres of federal parks and wildlife refuges, which added to the country's natural resources. With the purchase, the US also inherited the responsibility of governing the native people who had lived on the land for centuries. Even today, Alaska maintains its strategic importance. At the end of January this year, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, signed a new decree that pertains to Moscow's historic real estate holdings abroad. This decree has been interpreted as a foundation for future revanchism against Russian neighbors and even the United States. The new decree provides funding for the search, registration, and legal protection of Russian property abroad, which includes property located in former territories of the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union. This move by the Russian government is likely to raise concerns among some neighboring countries, particularly those that have previously experienced territorial disputes with Russia. This includes large areas of land across Alaska, Central and Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and parts of Scandinavia. Alaska is also an invaluable asset from a military standpoint. The high ground position provides an elevated terrain that allows for easy defense of the location and helps in advancing. Echoing Brigadier General Billy Mitchell's view in 1935 that Alaska is the most strategic place on Earth, Lieutenant General David Crum emphasizes Alaska's proximity to all locations in the Northern Hemisphere. Alaska's fundamental position is reflected in the Air Force's positioning of 4 squadrons of 5th-generation fighter jets. Alaska's membership in the Arctic Council, an intergovernmental forum, allows the US to address Arctic issues, including overlapping territorial claims and the region's resources. With newly opened Arctic sea routes, shipping cargo through the Arctic reduces travel time and saves costs. Alaska provides 1 million cubic miles of training in the Joint Pacific-Alaska Range Complex, the largest range, allowing realistic, multi-day combat training exercises. The remote location of the range makes it harder for prying eyes to observe the training or technology. Alaska's ability to place a radar site for missile warning and interdictation far north allows for earlier awareness and action than if the site were in the lower 48 states. The Clear Space Force Base, with its long-range discrimination radar, provides such capability, and the ground-based interceptors at the Army's Fort Greely provide early opportunities to prevent incoming missiles. Ultimately, Alaska became the 49th state on January 3, 1959, and is now known for its abundant natural resources. Today, over 50% of America's seafood and 25% of its oil come from Alaska. Since 1959, Alaska has produced $180 billion worth of oil, which accounts for 85% of the state's budget. These figures could continue to rise as the federal government owns 60% of Alaska's territory, and the output might increase in case of sudden demand surges. Over the years, Alaska has played a crucial role in supplying natural resources for the country, with the state producing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of whale oil, fur, copper, gold, timber, fish, platinum, zinc, lead, and petroleum. So one can confidently say that purchasing Alaska was worth every penny.